Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Cyan or Hylian Cream. You can go to the next slide. This is beginner beading workshop. So I've been cosplaying for over 14 years now. I am a competitive master level cosplayer with my sister here. She's my cosplay partner duo. So as you can see from my outfit, I do a lot of beading and I started adding embellishments. And you'll see some of my inspiration later in the slide, and hopefully you guys can also get some inspiration from other cosplayers. We are competing in masquerades, so if you're going to that tonight, you can come see us and come see some homies. I have a lot of cool friends in the show. But yeah, that's kind of some of the projects I've done with beading for my cosplay, to kind of get an idea of what you can do. Next slide. So some of you may be wondering, okay, all these people have these fancy dancy little things on their costume. What is this? It's beading. Well, what is beading? So beadwork goes all the way back to the Stone Age, and there's different variations of beadwork. There is ones like what I do, where it's on a frame. It's done to create almost like a piece of artwork that is then sewn onto a costume. There is beading that comes into like forms of like jewelry, where you're doing bracelets, necklaces, and stuff like that. And it's like essentially like it's everywhere in the world, and every country has a different variation of where it comes from. So you can kind of read this. I don't want to have to read it all for you guys, but just because, I'm just reading right off the slide. But for the most part, cosplayers have been adding beading to their cosplays for years now, and it's a great way to add your own little like flair to your costume, or your own kind of identity to it, especially if you want to just kind of, especially for those of us who are competitive cosplayers and just want to kind of have another skill to add to the table. It's always very fun. So on the next of the slides, I have a few friends who I just snooped their profiles for pictures, but who are some amazing beaders, and hopefully you can be inspired by them too.
Okay, try it now.
So this is the first one. These are some amazing cosplayers. Some of you may have heard of. Cowbutt Crunchies have been around for a long time. They're competitive. They are judges. They have done some amazing multi-layered and leveled beadwork, as you can see by what they have here. Sarcasm Hime was our crown winner, I believe either last year or the year previously. I got to work with her earlier this year, or last year. Sweetheart, if you have not seen her Snow Queen outfit that she won with, it's essentially beaded head to toe. And then Scared View 2, my friend suggested them. They did this whole like Anakin look that was like if he was senator and he married Padme, and it's such a unique take on a character where he essentially made his own design, and then he did all this beadwork that told the story of Anakin almost being like a senator and royalty and his connection to Naboo and stuff like that. Next slide. The next three we have is Bada Cosplay, Jay Phoenix Cos, and Pattern Mage. But I got to meet her last year. She works on Broadway, so she has done some beading on some amazing stuff that you may have seen at the Tonys recently, so she's big time. Jay Phoenix, they're a friend from NorCal. They just won our ALA delegate if you go to Anime Los Angeles. They've done some amazing different types of European beadwork on their costume for themselves and for their cosplay partner. And then Padner Mage just won, I think, crown for New York this past year, so 2 separate years. Their costume is absolutely insane. As you can see, that is just one wing on their costume. They essentially made beaded wings and beaded headpiece, beaded everything. It was beautiful. And if you get a chance to take a look at these profiles, you get to see a little bit closer on that work in progress. Okay, and lastly, we have some friends here. Thea Calix, they have done some really cool beading on their Sakizo cosplay that was very unique to what they wanted to show in the different types of characters. Sakizo is an illustrator. She does a lot of very whimsical designs. If you've ever seen them, they may look like food. So she did a lot of beading in hers to look like a serpent with lots of roses, and it was really fun to see when I got to judge her what she added to it that looked like the artwork, but also was her own flair on it, using a lot of 3D beading. Elephant Bird also works on Broadway, their major sleigh. As you can see here, the piece they did, the beading they did on there wasn't just typical standard beading, but they did a lot of hand embroidery. They did different types of needlework and gold work in theirs. And again, once you get started with beading, you'll know that there's different levels, different types of price points for stuff, different amount of hours you're going to be spending on this. So you kind of get an idea based off that, like that took them hundreds of hours. And last one is Braun Does Cosplay. They're also at the masquerade this evening. You can't really see it on this costume, but they've added a lot of different 3D beading elements to a lot of their different projects. And I sucks I wasn't able to find a better photo of them, but they beaded the little sashes coming down the front, and it looks like little twinkling stars, and I thought it was very cute. Okay. So, to get started, there's some basics of beading that you guys need to know. So first and foremost, we have beads. Beads will come in a variety of sizes, shapes, and just different forms and colors. The two most you will see are seed beads and bugle beads. So today we'll be using size 6 seed beads, which are pretty large, and we're just using standard, I think number 4 bugle beads. Bugle beads are straight, seed beads are circle. So when I let you guys know to take the beads out of the packet and put them in your work trays, now you know which ones I'm talking about. Bugle beads will be circle, and bugle beads will be straight, seed beads will be circle. It's been a long weekend, guys. Like I said, they come in different sizes and shapes. There's even twist bugle beads, there's really tiny seed beads, and that's where going to our next slide, you'll see, don't go yet, why knowing the size bead you have is important. I'll go over that. The next thing is backing material. So there's a lot of different backing materials you can use, and again, it really depends on what you're doing. So for today, for our sampler, we're keeping it simple, and we're using a nice, inexpensive option, which is felt. Felt is great. I use it on the back of all my beading. Typically, I will layer satin and then felt underneath it, so it has a nice pad to it. You can bead pretty much on any material, but the biggest thing to know is you need to have something that's used as a stabilizer to hold your beads in place. If you just bead onto a mesh or a net, there is a high chance that what will happen is your beads will just start to fall apart. If you've ever had like a beaded dress you bought at the store and you notice, damn, all the beads are starting to all the pearls are starting to fall off my dress. It's probably just very thinly sewn onto the single layer. There's no support, there's no stabilizer. It's gonna fall off eventually, especially from constant wear. So having something like felt in the back, which is inexpensive and pretty sturdy for the most part. You can also use different types of stabilizers that people would use on machine embroidery. And you can also honestly just play around and see what works best for you. I've had friends, no joke, bead with fabric over a piece of EVA foam, and it worked for their armor build they needed, and I was like, you are insane, your fingers must hate you, but it looked really good. So, and lastly, we have thread. Again, it's just like sewing. By show of hands, who here does any machine sewing or hand sewing? Some of the room, cool. So something you may hear or may not know is when you're machine sewing, it's good to have high quality threads, because if the thread keeps snapping in your machine while it's going through the machine, it's going to, one, leave a lot of little thread bits on your machine, but also it's going to frustrate you because your machine thread should not keep snapping. So for beading, because we want to make sure that it's nice and easy to move through the bead, move through the fabric, but it's also nice and thick enough, is we use nylon thread. So I have a spool here, and for the people who are able to do a sampler, I did give you guys a little extra one to refill. I did, for those of you who do have your sampler, do watch out. Inside there is your felt and there is your thread little spool and a needle that's already threaded. So don't lose that. Don't start sewing the table with it. This is not our property. But embroidery thread, 100% polyester thread, and even cording can be a good option. It really just comes down to what size bead are you using, what type of project is this going on, and just kind of, again, the biggest thing with anything sewing is experimenting. My first beading project, which I have in the little demo video, while it's super cute, fell apart because I didn't properly do the stuff in the back. But as I kept going, I've learned it, and now I'm able to put beading on a costume like this that can last me multiple wears at a con, go through judging, be danced on stage. So yeah, and you keep learning. Next slide. So more supplies we have, and these are some more advanced supplies you can get. You don't need them off the bat, except for needles. You need needles. The beads cannot be stuck without needles. So this goes into the previous slide, is knowing what size beads you'll be using. There are different size beading needles. Some beading needles overall are just very tiny. Some of them are very short, some of them are very long. And again, that comes down to comfortability for what you'd like to use. You may not want a long needle that you have to now pull through your thread, but also then have to put back under. It's annoying. You can choose, again, there's many different options. You can look online. I believe Michael's is starting to get more stuff. And there's small retailers that at the end of this slideshow, I have resources for you guys. So there is a very, you have options that you can choose for comfortability. Just like anything with sewing, it's up to personal preference. Like, yes, you can follow guides, listen to instructions to have the proper supplies to use, but like anything else, it comes down to personal preference, what makes you comfortable when you are working, because everybody is different. The next two are frames and a bead spinner. So frame, like the one we're giving away here, come in many different sizes. They may be a hoop, like a circle you've seen that people do hand embroidery on. They could be big frames like this one that are lap frames, and there's even frames that you can have that stand up. So the frame I have at home is like this big, and it stands up on the ground, and that's what I did. I don't have it with me, but I did a halo, and I did that on there because it's so big. It's like 11 inches wide. And I can't do it on my other little frames, on top of it being like, it's easier to just have it there and I can just bead without having it on the table. Again, as you keep beading, as you keep working, you'll kind of start to see, oh, I don't like having a lap one. I don't like having one that kind of sits on the table. Let me go invest in one that can be sat on its own. And they have many different variations online. I believe one of the main brands, it starts with an A, but it is a Ukrainian brand, is the one that sells most of the wooden standing frames. And those can be bought on Amazon from their website. And you can always also, a great resource is looking on Facebook Marketplace or places like Mercari for people who are selling theirs that they may no longer use. So you're able to get a good deal, because I will admit, these frames are in the hundreds for big standing ones, especially if you want to do a big project. But they are worth it in the long run if that's something you want to invest in and really use. Not constantly, like I haven't pulled my frame out since last prepping for AX. So you have, you have different options to choose from in this. Finally, the bead spinner. Again, not necessary today. We aren't using a bead spinner, but you can totally use one. They're awesome. When you're doing a lot of seed beads, which are the little circle ones, sometimes you want to put those in a little line, and it's really hard to have to pick every single one up and put it on, which you may see today a little bit. But having a bead spinner, either manual, the little wooden ones that you will just spin it, like kind of like a little dreidel or a little like top, or they have electric ones where you just put batteries in or plug it into a USB stick and you press it and it automatically spins. Super helpful. Again, if you are thinking of getting into beading and wanting to really invest in it, it's a very neat little tool to have, and I recommend it just to make life a little bit easier. Okay, next slide. Okay, we have the demo. We're gonna hold off on this just in case there's some of you who do not want to stay for the demo time. So go to the next slide. Oh, next. So here's a list of supplies for anyone who'd like to take a picture of this. These are some online stores. I know obviously we are in LA, so if any of you are locals here to Southern California, the LA Fashion District has a ton of shops and different places you can stop in to get rhinestones, beads, gems, and everything like that. I highly recommend that. Amazon, obviously, if you need a quick arrival, but if we want to support our small businesses, the bottom three are ones I've used and or have been recommended by friends. They have such a large library, it may take you a few business days to look through, but you have the opportunity here to take a look and see what works for your budget, what works for what you need for a project. And again, the most important thing in any cosplay is shopping within your budget and also shopping from a reputable source, so you don't just get a bunch of, garbage beads that break on you the minute you pick them up. So I think we're gonna go, okay, that is it for my presentation side of things. For those of you who may have any questions before we get started on the demo, does anyone have any general questions about beading, where to get started, supplies, or anything like that? And you can come to the mic right here.
Hello and welcome to the demo part of this presentation. So we're going to go over the basics needed to make your sample, and from there you guys can do whatever you'd like. I'm excited to see what you make and the little creativity that you bring from this. So to start, we have our work trays. We're going to be working with bugle beads as seen on the right. Those are the long skinny ones, and seed beads, which are typically circular beads in different sizes. Today we're going to be using size 6 for ease of use. We also have a piece of felt in front of you with a circle on it. This is going to help us be our guide. The circle can be made from anything from a marker, vinyl, water-soluble pens, or even embroidery, which is what I typically use to help me have a guide. So we're going to start with our seed beads seen here, and we're going to go ahead and follow that circle. So to start, the needle is going to come up and always come up from the bottom of the fabric. That way the end tails of the thread are hidden underneath and on the back side. We don't want anything showing on the front side where our pretty presentation is supposed to be. From there, once the needle is up and through the fabric and we have enough thread, you're going to then put a seed bead onto the needle and you're going to push it back down and put it back through the fabric. And as you can see here, after going in a huge circle, that is how our seed beads look, and we can move on to the next layer, which for me, I'm going to now go in a circle of bugle beads. Following the same technique with bringing the needle up through the bottom of the fabric, putting the bead on the thread and going back down, I'm just going to create a little line of seed beads till I fill out this circle sampler. It's super important to watch as you're doing this to make sure no threads are getting tangled underneath and that you're keeping everything nice and smooth, and work nice and slow so you can get as nice and straight of lines as you possibly can while making your sample. And once finished up, here is our next inner circle. So now that you've done this, you are free to do whatever you'd like for your sample. I'm super excited to see how you use the provided beads to make whatever you would like. Feel free to mix combos, mix beads, and just feel free to have some fun. Now for the last part, I want to show you guys how I typically will tie off my thread. So with the needle on the back side now, I usually will put it through the felt one more time, and then I will loop my needle through the little bunny ears of the thread. And then I just pull it through one more time and clip it, and it is tied off at the end. And this is typically how I will tie my threads off. And here's a few other samples, as you can see from past projects, of how I've mixed seed and bugle beads, and just to make fun, unique little motifs and projects. Hope you guys have fun and are able to create some wonderful and beautiful masterpieces of your own with beads.